And it looks like we are live. Hello, everyone. I'm Alexi, and tonight you're joining us for Checkpoint Midnight, Waltz of Treachery. This is Season 1, Session 1. We are playing this game as a Gauntlet Quarterly. So there'll be 3 seasons total over 3 months, playing out a longer story. And this is a game we're playing through the Gauntlet gaming community. You can find out all about the Gauntlet at gauntlet-rpg.com. And it's a good time to be finding out about the Gauntlet too, because we have Gauntlet Community Open Gaming coming up later in July. Registration for that has just opened up, and I believe there's still some spaces available at some of the games of Gauntlet Community Open Gaming. Those are games that anyone can sign up for. It'll give you a little taste of the type of online indie gaming we do at the Gauntlet. One of my players is telling me there's space in both of his games at Gauntlet Community Open Gaming. So go ahead and check that out. If you check out the Gauntlet at gauntlet-rpg.com or follow the Gauntlet on Twitter at gauntletrpg, you should find information about our open gaming, where in fact some award-nominated games from Cloven Pine Games, that's the game design brand I work under, will be offered at Gauntlet Community Open Gaming. But enough about that for now. Tonight's game is Checkpoint Midnight. Checkpoint Midnight is a game of supernatural espionage in Cold War Vienna. So our player characters are magical operatives running the shadows of this divided post-war city. And you can find out more about Checkpoint Midnight, if that sounds intriguing to you, at bit.ly/checkpointmidnightlist, where you can sign up to learn more. I'll also be running a session of Checkpoint Midnight at Online Gen Con this summer. So that's another opportunity to play this game for all the folks out there. Let's introduce our players for this evening. So just introducing yourself as players first. We'll come back around to the characters. Tell us about yourself as a player. Puckett, start us off. Tell us your name, pronouns if you wish, online handle if you so desire, and just what attracted you to this game.
Hi there, I'm Puckett. I use he, him pronouns. I am a ghost. I do not exist. I am just a voice in your ear with a picture of Michael Caine representing me. What drew me to this game is that I absolutely adore film noir. I like creepy 50s stuff. And in a lot of ways, this reminded me of some of the comics that I loved, both as a child and as an adult. And that's about it, except for noting that I do actually have session or space seats open in both of the games that I'm running for Gauntlet Con. I'm running Traverser and Pasión de las Pasiones. So if either of if running around as a quantum soldier after the world ends sounds appealing to you, or being a clerk at a record store and getting involved in telenovela drama sounds appealing, do look that up.
Very good. Well, excellent to have you here with us, Puckett. Next up, Leandro, introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Leandro. I use he, him pronouns, and I don't have much to plug as well, except very intermittent tweets from my Twitter, I suppose. I think the last time I posted there was I was watching a lot of giant robots beating the crap out of each other. So not that interesting. So I'll definitely just get folks to look at the Gauntlet Open Gaming, which is definitely just lots of really cool stuff there. And a chance to get involved with folks here at the Gauntlet, and you get to play cool stuff like Checkpoint Midnight. I'm holding a remote for some reason now. I'm gonna put that down. So I guess I'll say the main reason I'm interested in playing this game is because fortuitous rewatching The Third Man semi recently, and also seeing this being basically Cold War, spycraft, black and white espionage thriller, but with ghosts and werewolves. I've only played this game once, and it was intriguing and fun. Met a werewolf named Wolfgang who led a gang of wolves. I don't think he's around anymore, sadly. But yeah, it was a really fun game, and I'm keen to play more.
Great to have you back. Thanks for playing tonight. Last but not least, Chris, tell us about yourself.
Hi, yeah, I'm Chris, he, him. I'm really excited to be playing this game. I'm relatively new to the Gauntlet. I love early Cold War stuff, The Third Man and Philip Kerr novels. I also really like getting a window into the development of games. I'm making a game myself, and so I'm really interested in getting more involved in the Gauntlet and playing as many games as I can, and eventually getting to the place where I have a game that is in a state where it can be shared similarly. So
Awesome.
I'm really excited to be digging into all this.
Does your in development game have a working title?
Defy the Gods is the working title. It's
Nice.
a sort of sword and sorcery, early world Mesopotamian kind of feeling.
Ooh, fun. Yeah, Bronze Age fantasy type stuff.
Yeah. And my handle is Hectic Electron.
Very good.
So I'll be blogging about it there. Yeah.
Thank you all for being part of this game tonight. Let's start to meet these characters. We're gonna just go across our character keeper. I will share the screen so that someone watching, would be able to see the illustrations we've picked out for these characters. And I'll just ask each of you to tell me the basics of your character. Like, we'll go through we'll probably go through backstory on a second go round, but just give me the first like pitch of who this character is right now. So Puckett, tell us about your character.
Jack Hardesty is somebody who is not allowed to fully die. He was patched back together from parts and pieces, had a bunch of electricity run through him by some pencil-necked geeks in a lab somewhere, and he's been hunting them down ever since. Quite frustrated that he can't quite get his hands on them because he wants to prevent them from doing this to any other American soldiers. He wants to find eternal rest, but not before making sure that they can't disturb anyone else's peace.
Very good, very good. And we got to see a little bit of Jack Hardesty in a previous run of Checkpoint Midnight. So exciting to have him back, and as relentless as ever, I'm sure. Leandro, tell us the basics of your character.
Yeah, so I'm playing Emilie Landau, who uses she, her pronouns. She's using the Dodger playbook, which is about being just a slippery, annoying minx, apparently. Someone who has been favored in the past by a patron and is given these like strange supernatural like gifts, and she's using them to basically have fun and be on top of the underworld of Vienna. She was just a country girl in some humdrum town on the border between Austria and Soviet Union. But what basically got into a whirlwind romance with this mysterious creature of the night who called herself Victoria, and was brought to Vienna, and basically has decided to, why? It's an exciting time. It's an exciting city. There's lots of exciting people here. Why not, make hay while the sun is shining? Although, if the sun is shining really brightly, then the shadows cast are much deeper. And I tried to say something poetic, but it's late where I am.
So
it's 1 a.m. where I am.
Wow. I admire your commitment. So Victoria, this creature of the night who swept you up, promptly also disappeared, it sounds like.
Yes, we said goodbye. It's part of the backstory, but she's off. She's gotten bored. Basically, but that's good for Emilie because that means Vienna's now just there. Vienna's all for me now.
The world is your oyster. But you have some sort of strange, kind of supernatural luck that's lingered from your patron. Is kind of part of how the playbook works, and I take it. Emilie has discovered that that's the case for her.
Oh yeah. She has. Well, she was had hints of it before. There was that time she managed to cause an entire psychic feedback event and destroyed this rich man's kitchen. That happened once, but she wasn't. She was just figuring stuff out until it did just kind of click. And again, there's a specific part in the backstory question that kind of addresses this. Like full disclosure, Emilie is a character that I used in a game of Urban Shadows that Alexi ran. That's
bringing
also
her
set in-
over from a previous system. I love it. It's it's so nerdy. It's great.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. She was a mundane aware who had like just the right combination of moves. I mean, she could never lose at anything. It was ridiculous. She came out on top. It was horrific. She was so lucky.
Well, that is explicitly the power of the favored, which is the role you've chosen from the Dodgers. So that makes sense to me. All right, if we meet our last character, and then we'll come back around. Chris, why don't you tell us about your character?
Right. Ashleigh is a wooden, articulated wooden statue made of gray blonde ash wood, made in sort of a slightly outmoded Jugendstil style with lots of whip curl ornament and painted on decoration. She's both she and they. You know, she's been carved very much in the shape of a woman, but the wood inside of her really has no gender.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't know. They don't know where their maker went or whatever happened to them. It has only vague memories of them. But whoever that was, they're tied to the city somehow, which is why Ashleigh is still walking the streets, usually heavily covered up so that people don't get too close a look at her. She's a very sort of good person, she thinks, maybe. That the
She has a conscience, doesn't she?
There's a little ladybug that follows her around and is always whispering what the best thing to do is, which is usually helpful, sometimes annoying. The ladybug's name is Constance, and is the not a link to their maker, more like a link to something else, more transcendent. So that's a mystery of its own, where Constance came from and how Constance got deputized to Ashleigh. But it is very difficult for Ashleigh to tell a lie. So in that way, Ashleigh is very straightforward. And of course, this is tricky in a game about spies.
I love that. You've chosen the move, cannot tell a lie, which will penalize you for lying, but reward you for misleading people without technically lying.
Right. It's a line I'm learning to walk.
That's so fun. Yeah, let's go through some of the backstory questions for these characters then. So I'll kind of start with Ashleigh and go back around. You know, how long ago were you made, and why have you stayed in the city after losing your maker? So you give us the sense that you don't really know who made you exactly.
Right. I'm given the style that I've been carved in. I'm saying I was made about 1920 at the latest, but I don't know how much memory I have. That's something we could work out in play. I definitely have only snatches of vague transient memory of my maker that is mostly tied to visions of different parts of the streets of Vienna, different buildings, different streets, different areas, and so I feel like if I keep walking these streets long enough, I will remember more and figure out who my maker was and why they left me.
I see. So you're kind of walking all through the city, trying to put some of the pieces together.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And I'm gonna ask you one more here. What about humanity fascinates you the most?
The way that a single person can be an angel, a devil, a whirlwind, you know, a bag of bricks, like all in the same person, sometimes in the same week, sometimes in the same day. They change, and I feel like I don't change. I don't know how accurate that self-assessment is, but I seem very static to myself, and people are protean.
So it's the mutability of humanity that
Yes.
that fascinates you as a being of carved wood, somehow animated and guided by this little conscience. Wonderful.
Right.
I'm gonna move back across the character keeper to learn a little more backstory. So Emilie, how long have you been in the city? And why were you run out of your previous stomping grounds? Is the way the backstory question is framed. So yeah, so what's your answer to that?
Yeah, I've been here a few years after the war. I never clarify how many years that's been. Definitely no longer than 5, but she never, but I'll never specify exactly. I was glad to be run out of where I was, since there was nowhere in particular. All that town's known for is that's where the Russian army first dropped by when they were. But even then, it's a footnote because they're headed to somewhere more important places. And of course, I couldn't have left without my benefactor giving me, the chance to get out. So I was perfectly fine to leave there. Although, given how much ruckus she had caused at that town, we were probably going to run out at some point. But yeah, I just followed Victoria around until we ended up here in this city.
So no one from your town of origin knows you're in Vienna at all, it sounds like.
Yeah. I don't expect to see any of them around here, and hopefully they don't expect to see me. Now that you mention that, I'm wondering if Emilie Landau is even her real name.
Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah.
And now, what in the city reminds you of your benefactor, and why do you try to avoid it?
So there's this Ferris wheel. I'm just gonna bring it out there because why not? Let's get that out of the way.
There is this Ferris wheel, yes.
There is this Ferris wheel, and there's this Ferris wheel that overlooks the city. And the last time I saw my benefactor, I saw Victoria, it was at that Ferris wheel, and this was after I had just completed this ridiculous con that had basically led me to not only wipe out a werewolf gang, but basically have the Americans working for me. And I went to the Ferris wheel to basically brag to her about what I've just done. And yeah, she sat in the shadows and told me a secret of what I truly am. A secret that I can't quite recall because my mind refuses to recall it. And
that's very frustrating.
Yeah, and now not only is that secret gone, but also her presence. She's just not in the city anymore after that. And she's done this before. But this is just on a more monumental scale. It's very few people even remember she exists. And she's just gone. And soon after that, everything that Emilie had kind of worked up to, including the whole get the Americans to work for her, kind of fell to pieces a bit. So when we come into this series of Checkpoint Midnight, it's more like she's just finally pulling it all back together. This is how I explain the gap between Urban Shadows and here.
Yeah. No, good continuity spackling there. Cool. All right. So you don't like going back to the Ferris wheel, just given the strangeness of your feeling like there's something you should know but don't know.
Honestly, the most irrational fear I have is because I'm afraid she might still be there.
Huh. just waiting for you.
Yeah.
Let me ask a couple questions of Jack. Jack, who did you serve in the war, and why can't you do that anymore?
I was in the 101st Airborne, and they tend to prefer that their soldiers have a pulse and be not constructed of other people's body parts.
So it sounds like, whatever the program was that built you back up after your death is not considered a success or considered claimable by the U.S. government.
I'm not even sure that it was the government.
It was just
you know how weird things got toward the end of the war, with everybody experimenting, trying to come up with anything that would tip the balance for their side. I mean, the Russians had farm girls flying missions and dropping railroad ties on people.
Yeah, that was a weird
Germans were experimenting with black magic. I guess the Americans were just grave robbers.
And you're not even sure, like, anyone higher up in the government knew that's what the scientists were doing in the lab that you came to in.
This could have just been them experimenting for the sake of experimenting to see if they could pull it off.
And now
they did.
Yeah.
At least once.
Yeah. And you worry more than once.
Yeah.
The next question here is, what brought about your brush with death, and what clarity did it grant you? Give us a sense of that.
Oh, that's a good one. Bombs aren't too specific about who they hit. So I guess in some ways that made the job easier for the eggheads in the lab there, because they didn't really... I mean, I was already in pieces, so pretty much anything they stitch on was going to be an upgrade. And the clarity that I got when I came back wasn't so much of a brush with death. I basically just got hit with the whole damn paint roller. Clarity that I brought back is that we all get what's coming to us. Some of us sooner than others. And these days I consider it my mission to try to make sure that the people who had a hand in this get what's coming to them sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and you've been kind of hunting down some of these scientists, but don't feel satisfied. You've truly rooted out this, or even come to fully understand what was going on when you came back from the grave.
That's because Gordon keeps holding on to that information. He knows it's the only thing. He knows that he gets to die last. That's the advantage he has. He hasn't really given me any of the people that I want yet.
Since we've brought him up, why don't you tell us about Gordon, the contact you're creating for your contact question? The playbook says someone involved with bringing you back is in the city. Who are they, and what questions won't they answer? They have leverage on you.
He's a low-level Skippy from that facility. I mean, the longer I've spent around Vienna, the longer I spent talking to people, the more I think that those scientists don't even deserve that term. They seem more like war criminals. And if Gordon Mackenzie had been one of the Germans, he would have been hanging from a gallows at Nuremberg. The information he has is that he knows who they were, or can at least point me in the direction of who they were. They probably all have new names and new identities now, but he remembers their faces. And it's still kind of hard to change that. And in the meantime, he stays alive because he serves my purpose of getting information and hunting.
So that I think ties into the fear or worry that drove you to Vienna. Tell us a little about that. What brought you to this city?
The weird thing about this town is that everybody here looks vaguely like somebody. It's one of the few places you can come and everyone looks familiar and you still don't know anyone.
And that lets you blend in.
It does. And if anybody from my old life happens to see me here, well, it's just one of those places. Everybody has a face that looks like somebody that somebody knows. That, and I've been here a little bit now. And well, I wouldn't go so far as to call any people I've met friends necessarily, but they're not enemies. And I at least trust them to stab me in the front instead of the back.
You know, a nice thing to be able to trust your fellow operatives to do. Speaking of faces you recognize, there's one other thing you have, which is a memento from someone you've lost touch with.
Goodness gracious.
In past, Jack carried around I think a locket or a watch with the like, you know, photo of a woman he didn't recognize inside of it. Is that still the case?
That's probably why I didn't remember it. Yeah, it was that locket, gold chain, just this tiny little gold chain, cheap little locket. Nothing fancy, nothing special, nothing to write home about. But
no address to write home to.
And honestly, if I did, it'd be a hell of a shock.
But the other thing about that is that when you see Death herself, she's worn the face of the woman in that locket.
Yeah, Death has a messed up sense of humor.
All right. I mean that's almost a summary of, you know, Jack's whole afterlife, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Let's move back across. Emilie, what prize are you currently scoping out?
Yeah, so there is, where is it? Oh, there it is. So there's this very nice painting in Vienna at the moment called Pallas Athene by Gustav Klimt, made in 18.
There it is.
1898. An old friend of mine who used to live in Vienna, she is long gone, had taken for herself a Klimt painting as well, a portrait of Adele Bloch-Bauer, and kind of opened my eyes to, you know, having art is nice, you know, it's, even if it's stolen art, you know, and there's just like a kind of legitimacy that gives you. Otherwise, why collect art like that? Why prize it that much? So yeah, this is just really like wanting it for the sake of having it.
Okay, so it's not that you're planning to sell it. It's not that you have some big plan. It's more that like you've decided you deserve this Klimt painting, and you're going to find a way to acquire it. Is it currently in a private collection or in one of the museums of Vienna, or is it one of these pieces of art that's gone missing, and you think you might have a lead on who looted it back during the bombing of the city?
I think it used to be missing, but it recently came about that, yeah, it's in the hands of a private collector at the moment, and it's being shopped around, and it's attracting more attention than a painting should. Like, people who normally wouldn't be interested in that sort of thing, you know, people with like more obvious ties to either side of the war, the Cold War, so to speak. So for Emilie, it's like, you know, it's a nice painting she'd have, but there's a suspicion that other people want it for other reasons.
Fascinating. Okay. One more question for you, Emilie, and that's your contact question. Tell me about the con you're running. You are running a con game on someone influential, but they've figured it out. Of course, that was always part of the plan, right? And you and this character get leverage on each other. So tell me about this character and about this con game.
Yeah, so there is a prominent singer / entertainer from East Germany named Charlotte Vogel, who's come to Vienna and decided to like make it her residence. She's a big name before and after the war, and basically, well, the reason she came here was because I kind of like pretended that like basically pretended like I had an in with the Americans, so get her settled. I did have an in with the Americans. It's just that that kind of blew up in my face semi recently. But I had enough time to make sure she was well situated. Basically, she's around just in case I need to if I have to get out of Vienna, at least before she found out about it, she'd be a good way to to get situated, maybe someplace like Berlin or someplace.
I see. So it isn't a con per se. It's that you maybe just slightly overstated your pull in the city, but you're still hoping that she is she's an escape route for you if you ever need one of those.
Yeah. Yeah. She can kind of tell I'm a scoundrel and a bit of a liar, but to me, it's just like, well, you sing and distract people for a living. It's only like just a tangential difference, Charlotte.
A real appreciator of the arts, Emilie. Fair enough. And any of your gear you want to highlight. I realize I didn't go over that in depth, but if there's some item you want to make sure we know about, feel free to share that.
Yeah, there's not much. Let's see, gear for the Dodgers, like comfy apartment, sleek car, paraphernalia for games. Emilie does like cards. She keeps those a lot. No, plays a mean game of Egyptian rat screw. And
which is definitely what it was called back in the 1950s.
Probably, I don't know. I saw a YouTube video explaining it. That's all I know about the game. And her weapon of choice is a Luger P08, which is not exactly an antique weapon because World War I is not as far away as, especially in Austria. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been a World War II. So that's her main pistol. But the small token of her benefactor, which is kind of like the thing that kind of like marks Emilie out. Well, it's mostly stemmed from this picture I'm using for her, which is like that ain't mascara. Those dark shadows on her eyes are just there.
I see, and that's just consistently been the case since you took up with Victoria, or at least since Victoria disappeared.
Yes, specifically when she disappeared, it has it has marked her out more than she would like. She's way more visible now. She thinks it's a petty, like Victoria up the difficulty level. At least that's what she thinks it is.
Very good. Well, let me turn to Ashleigh for the last of these backstory questions. What activity in the city do you observe from afar, afraid to participate in?
Dances in the public square. I kind of clomp around rather heavily, and I could never stay under the lights in front of any one person for too long, although I would love to. Yeah, it's this free entertainment, and for everyone else, it's a great blessing, and I just can't do it.
And let's talk about your contact question, because you get to author an NPC here. So someone in the city offered you mercy when you were lost and confused. You repaid them with a favor only you could give. Who were they, and how did this play out? What do you think?
In my early days, which was after the war, I was wandering around the city as a total amnesiac. But a kind woman who runs a food cart on Stephansplatz selling acorn coffee and odd curry sausages, she pointed out a building just off Stephansplatz and an apartment in there where I could squat and spend downtime and pretend to be a human being and have some privacy, almost like a real home. And for that, I broke off one of the sculpted wooden roses from my sculpted headdress and a garland around my head, and I gave it to her. It always smells sweet.
Oh, that's fascinating. So it doesn't. It's a little more than just a wooden rose.
Because I'm a little more than just a wooden statue. So
That's fair.
So it has some of the same enchantment. And hats didn't fit very well on top of that thing anyway.
And for context, the Stephansplatz is the kind of center of the city, right? Named after the cathedral just off of it, and certainly part of the region jointly controlled by the four occupying powers.
Yeah, I was just looking on a map and I couldn't figure out who would have been in control of it, but I think you're right. I think it's like the biggest square in the city, so it's probably where everybody converges.
Yeah, that's kind of the wild thing about this setting is there sectors of the city controlled by the United Kingdom, the USA, France, and the Soviet Union, and then there's in like the very middle of the city a district jointly controlled by the four powers and like patrolled by little jeeps where there's one policeman from each from each of the powers trying to like coordinate, and the native Viennese are pretty frustrated by this arrangement. Nice. Well, we've learned some good stuff about these characters. Any piece of gear you want to make sure we know about for Ashleigh? We learned we have a sense of where the apartment you're technically squatting in is, and
I have a little metal cigarette case in which doesn't have any unused cigarettes in it. I pick up little cigarette butts off the street and I put them in there. The whole idea of breathing and fire, those are two very fascinating things for me.
Yeah, I mean, fire, fascinating and dangerous for someone made of wood.
Yes,
but that's wonderful. So you keep this collection with you and expand it when you get
at all times. Yeah,
nice. And you wear an overcoat and a large hat, which as specified by your gear, help you look human to passersby who aren't paying too much attention. So it's not a perfect disguise, but
it's a wide-brimmed hat, tries to cast a shadow over my painted features.
That's fantastic. All right, so we've learned all these backstory questions. Let's define some of these relationship questions. So as we said, part of the premise of this game is your characters are supernatural operatives and they've worked together. We're not going to start with you all meet in a cafe, though we might have you regroup in the cafe that is the titular checkpoint Midnight. But let's learn a little about what unites these characters, what relationships they've already started to form amongst themselves as they've presumably gone on a number of missions together before the mission we open on during this series. Since we're over with Ashleigh, you want to tell us about your relationship questions and how you think you might put the other PCs onto those blanks.
I would say that that Jack is wise and has taught me much about humanity.
That's fascinating.
It's all pretty grim stuff, but
that makes total sense. I mean, I am made of pieces of like 8 people. Who would know more about humanity than me?
Right. But you have this strong moral code, which I really admire. Like you are trying to keep this kind of horror from happening to anybody else. You also have a certain fatalism and that everybody gets what's coming to them. That's something I'm still trying to get a grip on, but I am sure it is very wise. And then Emilie is foolish and clearly mistaken about their own purpose. I think she's just way too morally compromised for my ladybug Constance to really handle. So Constance,
you better believe she's incredibly morally compromised.
So Constance is like, Jack he's all right, and Emilie needs help.
How do you think? How do you think you will help Emilie to realize her true purpose?
Well, that's a tricky one. How I think I will help her is to keep reminding her of sort of basic golden rule kind of stuff, and
great,
and don't lie. Just don't lie. And how that actually plays out, I'm sure, is much less effective than in my mind. I'm a little innocent.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, speaking of that, let's look at your leverage. In your own unusual way, you care about everyone, give leverage to all fellow PCs. So Jack and Emilie, you should both write down that you have leverage on Ashleigh. Let me ask one last question. Ashleigh, is there a particular move, either one of your playbook moves or a basic move that you very much want to hit during this session? Because I'm going to ask each person this and help that guide me a little bit to what sort of a mission I want to drop you guys in the middle of to see a little bit of play tonight.
Sorry, were you asking me?
Yes. Sorry. What move, either one of your playbook moves or one of the basic moves, do you most want to see Ashleigh, roll this session? I'm going to ask each of you this question and take that as some guidance for what type of mission to drop you into.
Definitely cannot tell a lie. I really want to see that come into play.
I see. So you want an opportunity to where it would make sense to tell a lie, but Ashleigh, might not be able to approach it that way.
Right. Totally.
Beautiful. Very good. All right. Well, Emilie, let's turn to you. Tell me about your relationship questions.
Yes, once I find the right tab, scroll down. All right. So, Blank caught you trying to steal something from them. What was it? Do you respect or resent them for letting you off with a warning? Okay. I don't know if Jack would let me off with a warning. Or at least it would be an incredibly intimidating kind of warning.
Well, Jack, what do you think?
I don't know, which is more interesting. Me terrifying you and terrorizing you into never trying to steal from me again? Or do you want to be trying to get my attention, but you're playing it cool?
That is true. See, the thing is, Emilie has this overconfidence streak, so I don't know if she'd be terrified. One of the moves I picked is that she never gets injured by falls ever anymore. It's really weird. So you mentioned in the chat, someone throwing out of the window. Emily would be fine if you threw her out of the window. She always lands on her feet. It's so weird. So
I could see Ashleigh letting you off with a sort of anodyne admonition.
Oh, like a morality tale?
Yeah, you really shouldn't do that.
Stealing is wrong.
Right? Yeah.
Told you.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. What would I be stealing off you? Because I knew you're sentient, I don't think I'll be taking one of your roses. But so, what would be like? Maybe your cigarette case? Like, keeping something.
Ooh, yeah, you could try. Maybe it's made of silver or something.
Yeah.
I mean,
say that again, Pocket?
I said an antique or something. I mean,
you
would know about antiquities. Maybe this is, like a cigarette case that was owned by one of the Habsburgs or something.
Whoa.
So there's like historical legitimacy and a pedigree to it.
Wow. What do we think? Is it that it's a fancy cigarette case and for Ashleigh it's just a place to put the cigarette butts that she collects?
Yeah, Emily's just like, that's not even, you're not even using it for its intended purpose. Like,
right, totally.
Yeah. I think I resent them letting off with a warning.
You resent Ashleigh for letting you off with a warning.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And then the other one is you crave Blank's attention, but you're playing it cool. You're thinking Jack?
Yeah, because I think he is singularly the most unimpressed with me in the city.
Oh, so you crave his attention because he's not impressed by your whole dodging shtick.
If that makes sense with you, Pocket.
That makes sense. I'm kind of surprised because I thought you said you weren't going to be playing a sad girl this time.
Oh no, she's not sad. No, she's absolutely not sad. It'll be fine. She's sad in the pathetic level, maybe. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Not sad in the way you're usually used to.
But just as far as affect, there's much more like bravado to Emilie. It sounds like.
Yeah.
All right. But so you feel so it's sort of like how you're trying to steal this painting because you deserve it and you'll kind of prove it by taking it. You're sort of a similar attitude about Jack almost.
Yeah. You kind of figured out her attitude with life in general.
And what's a move you definitely want to see Emilie get to roll during our our adventure tonight?
I do want to see that not the fall that kills you in action. It's not a move. It's that's the thing. It's a passive effect. She just can't be injured by falling. That's ridiculous. I want to see that on screen.
Cool. All right. So gala taking place on the 10th floor. Right. Beautiful. Jack, let's turn to you. Tell me about your relationship questions.
Oh, this is pretty easy.
Sorry, one last thing. Emilie, your leverage, despite your facade, you care a lot about how people think of you, give leverage to all but one of the other PCs. Since there's only 2 PCs, you have to tell me which of them gets the leverage.
Yeah, they're both like interesting for either of them. Because Jack seems the obvious one. I can see it going Ashleigh, but I think I'll go with Jack.
Are you sure? Because I will actually argue the opposite. Like, maybe Ashleigh's good-heartedness actually kind of cracks through your cynical veil from time to time, and she can actually reach you. Like, or just like plant like this little tiny seed of doubt about the goodness of what you're doing.
To be fair, it's kind of Constance's good-heartedness. I'm a blank slate. I'm starting off very much under the sway of the ladybug, but I think that could change.
Maybe I don't. No, she's not that ridiculous. She'd notice if it was a ladybug. Or maybe. Yeah, I think I'm a bit swayed by that. I think whether it's Constance or Ashleigh or whatever Emilie thinks, I think she is a bit like, well, someone's trying to reach out to me, I suppose.
I mean, my assumption is that most other people can't hear the ladybug. Like, my assumption is that Ashleigh hears the ladybug, but it's not like the rest of you are like catching little snatches of the ladybug talking to your friend. Yeah. Okay. Good.
Okay.
Well, that makes sense then. All right, you write down that leverage, Ashleigh. Sorry, let's go back to Jack. Sorry to swerve there, but yeah, let's look at your relationships.
I think I've shared with Ashleigh the worries that keep me up at night, because much like me, Ashleigh is an assembled entity. Like, out of everyone in this godforsaken hellhole of a town, Ashleigh might be one of the only people who can actually understand what it's like to be assembled out of parts. What do you think about that?
Yeah, totally. I mean, we've been made. It's so weird.
Yeah, strange kindred spirits there. And then your other relationship question.
Well, that's got to be Emilie. Emily's worth fighting for, if only I could convince them of that. Because I feel like Emilie has this kind of devil-may-care attitude, and they don't seem to value their own life. I mean, look at them. She jumps out of 10th floor windows. Who does that? I mean, I could do that because I'm already dead, sort of. But her, she could have a future.
Yeah. Funny thing is, she also doesn't know how she can do that.
Oh, that's very good. Yeah, Emilie is worth fighting for. If only you could convince them of that. Let's look at your leverage. For better or worse, the future will depend on these people. You're sure of it. Give leverage to 3 other PCs. There's only 2 other PCs. You got overflowing leverage to one. I like that idea. Yeah, let's say one of them has 2 leverage over you, because leverage can stack. Leverage is a resource that can stack up, and you can spend more of it for more effect. So who gets double leverage?
I think I'll go with Ashleigh on that one.
All right. So one leverage for Emilie,
1 to Emilie, and because I mean I think that I think that maybe Ashleigh's sort of innocence can still get through in a way that maybe Emilie's world weariness and cynicism can't. Like just that pure, dignified nobility. That kind of that almost childlike simplicity of her moral code, whereas mine is just pretty dark. Like, I don't know if you saw it typed in side chat, but Jack's moral code is kill all the bastards. It's like there's exactly one way this world is going to be worth living in for anyone who's not like me, and that's if I do the work that nobody else should do, the kind of work that like stains your hands in ways that you can't ever get clean. So I want to make a place worth living in for everyone else.
Yeah. Jack's a bit of like a one-man Black Ops core, and that makes sense because he's stitched together from at least enough people to staff one of those.
Pretty much.
That's awesome. One last question then. What move do you want to highlight for me? Is there a basic move or a playbook move that you definitely want to see Jack try and roll during our session this evening?
Well, I'm probably going to roll both my playbook moves. I mean, you put us in an op, and I'm probably, every op we've had, I've had to resort to some violence. But I think the fun one is probably Pierce the Veil.
Yep. That's
sitting around talking with death.
When you have gazed on the face of death, and she gazed back, give death leverage over you to ask her one, who here has cheated you and how, who has the most blood on their hands, what is slowly killing blank's body or soul. You'll get an honest answer, and perhaps later a task. Nice. All right, I'll keep those in mind. Let's go ahead and take a 12-minute break here, and I'll see you all back at the top of the hour.
I'll check it right now, Lexi. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Puckett. It's not that I've nerfed the moves per se, but there's been some adjustments as I've play tested, and I wanted to make sure you had the latest versions. All right, we are all back. I'm going to get us rolling. All right, so Checkpoint Midnight. We open with some aerial shots of Vienna. We see the city. A splendid center of culture, bombed out, post-war city, both at once. A city of divisions, a city of music, a city of dreams, and a city of shadows. Probably there's shots of you're now entering the Soviet sector, right? You're now entering the British zone, right? As we get the sense of the life of the city and the people bustling in its streets, and then let's get a shot of each of our operatives, just giving a sense of what the viewer might see them doing, on any given day. If we get just a little like character establishing shot for each of these folks. Jack, what would we see if there's just a montage of what type of things the characters are up to? What do we see Jack in the midst of?
Sitting in a dive bar drinking rot gut whiskey. Not that it has any effect on me, but I can pretend it does, and, well, maybe if I drink enough of it, I might actually feel something.
Always worth pushing that experiment a little further just to see. So never an effect so far, but you never know. Emilie, what would we see of you if we're getting a little character establishing montage?
Yeah, I think the montage starts with her getting breakfast at Checkpoint Midnight, and then we follow her. We follow her walking down an alleyway, and she with a newspaper in hand, and then she passes this completely innocuous newspaper to some fellow who's really standing out of place in this alleyway because he's a big coat and a hat. She says like a few words, smiles, walks off, sits at another alleyway. No, not an alleyway. Another cafe. Has breakfast there as well. Comes out with another identical piece of paper and another newspaper. Gives that to another person, also in another alleyway next to the cafe. And we just follow her in all these different cafes, passing off all these like. And I think throughout all this time, like her expression like always kind of changes, at least changes. Like there's someone like, oh hey, nice to see you again. Other times it's like, hey, right, whatever, nice to see you. I think what the viewer can tell is that like she is like talking to like way too many people and is involved in a lot of things in a lot of different cafes. And I think we just get like a last shot of her like for a moment standing next to like a newspaper stand in the middle of Vienna and just kind of like looking a tad overwhelmed by the city as a whole.
Wonderful. So we have the sense that she is juggling a lot of things, and has a bunch of contacts who may or may not know about each other. Absolutely. And Ashleigh, what would we see of you if we continue our montage establishing some of these characters?
I think you would see Ashleigh walking down street after alleyway after street, throughout the maze of Vienna, and bending down to pick up a cigarette butt, put it experimentally between her wooden lips, and like try to reenact the motion, and then put it in the case, feeling a little silly, and hiding from the beams of cars, pulling her hat down, and then sometimes just standing at the edge of a plaza, just watching the people. I figure she can stand for hours and hours. So watching people go by, imagining what their world is like. Maybe a brief shot of her at Cafe Midnight ordering an espresso and not drinking it, just sort of smelling it, and imagining what it would be like to drink it, and then going back to her squat flat and just kind of lying on the floor looking at the ceiling for a while. She spends a lot of time looking, which probably makes her a good spy lookout.
Yeah, good person to post and look out for things. Absolutely. Well, let's learn a little bit about the mission we're going to pick up with these operatives in the middle of. So, in a newly rebuilt residential building of Vienna, there is we get a shot of the roof, right, and we see this shiny new radio array up there, and I think what the three of you learn, right, from a contact possibly sitting across the table from you at Checkpoint Midnight, a broker arranging a job representing an anonymous interested party in the intelligence community, who says that this new radio array is believed to be no mere conductor for the legitimate airwaves, but some sort of Soviet operation, some sort of experimental device, erected in the skyline of this city, and you three are hired to retrieve a specific component from the radio array. Emilie, what's strange and intriguing about the description you get for the component that you are supposed to find and bring back?
That even though it's it's something that is meant to conduct this kind of this radio array, the actual most crucial component that we need is no bigger than a bocce ball.
Yeah, absolutely. That's and we're at a moment in time when technology has not started miniaturizing that to that extent. What do they tell? How do they tell you you'll be able to recognize the crucial component?
That it has a and when Emily hears this, she has that quirk an eyebrow. It has a very distinctive smell.
Oh, fantastic.
Huh.
Jack, what makes you invested in this mission? Obviously, sometimes there are sometimes bills to pay, but of course, what drives you is more than mere mercenary interest. Why do you think this might be worth your time?
Because Lena, the only other person that I've met who's kind of like me, slipped me a little bit of a word that the Russians were doing something in town, and it was something that the group that created her had some affiliation or involvement with. So if I'm getting a line on them, that might give me a line on the people I'm hunting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Lena, who it is, existed in a previous series of Checkpoint Midnight and made a connection with Jack as an ex-bodyguard and someone who also seems to have been brought back from beyond this mortal veil by scientists of dubious character. So Lena's tip is that this might connect to the people who created her in the first place. That's fascinating. Ashleigh, why do you tell your fellow operatives that it's important for you to accompany them on this mission? You are
sorry. Say that again.
Ashleigh, why do you tell your fellow operatives that it's important for you to be part of this mission, for you to accompany them?
Because I watch everything. I see everything. And we're going to need to see a lot more than we're seeing in order to get into this, in order to find this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so they're going to need someone with your particular skills.
Yes, a student of human nature.
That's excellent. All right. Let's talk about approaching the mission then. What do you think your basic approach is going to be? There's a role we're actually going to make, a mission role that will tell us a little bit about how you're doing when we pick up with you in this mission. But let's start by just checking in. Jack, what are your thoughts on kind of the basic approach that the operative should take? Play it stealthy, snatch and grab. How should you approach this this mission? The patron had no specifications on that front.
Well, this thing's on a rooftop, right?
Yeah, it's on a rooftop. It's a radio array on the roof of a newly rebuilt residential building in the city.
I mean, it seems kind of cut and dried to me. Ashleigh watches the ground approach. I stay back in case we need some muscle. Emilie gets on the rooftop, snags the piece, jumps off. Easy peasy.
Emilie, you up for this approach?
I think Emilie was about to argue profusely for basically that approach, because she thought Jack was going to say something differently. But but then she hears Jack say that, it's oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Although that does mean the two of you are hanging back. I'm basically be the one making my way up to the top.
Oh, it's quite all right. I can walk you right up to the door, and we can treat it like I'm kissing you goodnight at the doorstep. Nobody will notice.
And I could have a pocket mirror that I could use to shine a light up to you in a certain sequence if we need to communicate with you.
Oh yeah, classic. Signaling via the light shining off the mirror.
So we'll be in contact. You'll just be 10 stories higher up than the rest of us.
Oh well, look, I'm not anxious about it or anything. This is just remarkably subtle. This is just a remarkably subtle plan. Not something I'm terribly used to. Not the same against it. And no, I don't need to be escorted. It's perfectly fine.
I mean, if you want, I can throw some grenades. I do have some. I'm sure that the explosives in them are probably starting to degrade by now. I should probably use them up. I mean, we can go
Ash
if you really want.
If I tell Ashleigh that, would you do it? If I have the sudden craving for things to get noisy,
would I go with it? I think always better to have a hand grenade and not need it than the other way around. But I would prefer not to go loud.
You see, Ashleigh's learning. Have one and not need it. Better than needing it and not having it.
You're teaching me so much. I'm learning, Jack, from you.
All right. So
I know you can't lie.
It's true. No, I think you have it right. Until I meet somebody with a different point of view, or until Emilie tells me that you're full of crap. I think that you've got a real line on something here.
All right. Well, we've specified the basic approach. Now we have some questions to answer. And if you would care to check out the mission moves tab on the character keeper, you can see what we're working with here. I'll also highlight down below that there's a flashback to preparation option. So if at some point during the mission you're like, oh, I would have done that beforehand, you have the option to mark a stress and establish something about your gear or your prep. It can even be something where you make a roll in the flashback, but it doesn't have to be. But now we're looking at embark on a mission. When you embark on a mission with allies, specify your basic approach, making a stealthy entrance, going in guns blazing, and answer these questions together. Do you have good intel about the mission? Well, Emilie, do you feel you have good intel about the mission?
We have the basics, but they say it's a newly built residential building. Anything could be in that building. There could be like conventional for singers or cereal makers who are just popping by. The path from the ground floor to the top is a bit of an unknown.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I don't think you quite have good intel. Do you have resources or connections that will help with this mission? Ashleigh, what do you think? Anything spring to mind?
It's possible that we know a person who lives in the building.
Ooh.
I might know them just from my morning, afternoon, evening constitutional all around the city. Or one of the others might know them, but I think that's what comes to mind.
Yeah, no, that's not crazy. I mean, it's newly been built. It might be housing folks who were having trouble finding places to stay in this city. So is it possible your friend from the food stall, Inga, has ended up here?
Yes, Inga lives in the building. She's very excited about it.
Oh, that's good. All right, we've got a connection, an inside line, as it were. Then that'll end up giving you a +1 as we're calculating how this move shakes out. However, we need to ask some other questions too, which is, does everyone participating trust the leader's competence and intentions? That implies a first question, which is, who's the leader? Anyone have an instinct about that? Anyone feel like they know the answer?
I kind of think Jack's the leader.
Yeah.
He seems to take charge and, brave.
And here I was going to say that I thought Emilie was the leader.
She is the one, actually going in.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she wasn't the one who proposed the plan.
So Emilie, you vote that Jack is the leader, at least as far as you're concerned. Great. It's fine for there to be confusion. The only question is like, well, does everyone then trust the leader's competence and intentions?
Unreservedly and unwisely.
Jack, how about
on
you?
my part?
I trust my own competence and intentions because my intention is simply to get the damn job done.
And Emilie?
Yeah, Jack has given no reason for me to distrust his competence or intentions. He's a very straightforward guy.
Okay. Speaking of straightforward, is everyone being upfront about their own agendas and motives for the mission, Jack?
I think so, because while I have this line on this tech, I don't necessarily know what it is or how it might be connected. And it certainly doesn't jeopardize the mission anyway or work at cross purposes with it.
So are you sharing with your fellow operatives that Lena gave you a heads up about this, or keeping that to yourself?
Until something comes of it.
Okay.
I'm thinking that might be need to know.
All right. So there's some additional information.
I mean, it's one of those things that if it actually turns out to mean anything, I'm going to tell them right away. But in the meantime, hell, she could have told me Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny was up on that rooftop, for all the meaning it has. So, is it relevant to the mission? No. Not at the moment.
Well, that's fair enough. Emilie, are you being upfront about your motives and your agendas?
So the task is to get the device away from the Soviets, not give it to anyone in particular, is it?
Well, your broker, right? The one who hired you,
I'm kidding.
expect you to bring it back to.
Yeah, I figured as
checkpoint.
much. No, I think this one, like Emily's, like, all right, this is a job, you know. She any iron she might have on the fire are not heated yet, and this is she doesn't know much about the device anyway to be like totally interested. So she's upfront, like, no, I hands are clean in this one.
Okay. And Ashleigh, you feeling are you being upfront? You're not keeping anything back.
Constance has a lot of questions buzzing in my ear about who wants this machine, what do they want it for, are you really just going to give it to whoever asks you for it? How do you know they're better than the Soviets? I am trying to quiet that nagging voice. So other than that, I'm upfront.
Okay. Well, then it sounds like you don't need to take any minuses necessarily, and you got the 1+1 about a resource or connection that will help with this mission. So Emilie, let's go ahead and have you make the mission roll. Or, oh no, actually, that's interesting. Yeah, it sounded like the consensus was Jack was the leader. So even though Emily's the one going in, Jack, I'll have you make the mission roll, and you'll tell us how that goes. You have the roll dice with friends link.
Yep.
All right.
And then it's just a straightforward +1, correct?
Yes, you're rolling with a +1.
Oh my dear God, that's a 4 with the +1.
Well, let's take a look at the miss condition for embark on a mission. On
Really
a miss,
quick, do I take an XP for that miss?
oh yeah, sure. Go ahead and mark an XP.
Okay, now should we all take an XP for that miss?
No, you're the one who rolled it.
Okay.
On a miss, something's gone wrong, and you're in the MC's hands. Everyone marks a stress, and the MC will tell you who marks a condition. Great. So the beginning of the plan, so far so good, right? Emilie is just doing the infiltration, right? Trying to make her way into this building without attracting too much attention. Ashleigh, where are you positioned? Like on a nearby rooftop to be the lookout?
Yeah, I think it was like a rooftop that's maybe halfway between the street and the height of the building that has the antenna on it.
Nice. And Jack. Oh yeah, Jack. You're also kind of holding back, waiting for a signal of something going wrong. Is that correct?
I walked Emilie to the door like a gentleman, behaving as though this was her residence. Gave her a quick peck on the cheek goodnight, and I'm now standing around looking up at the lights in the apartments like a lovelorn suitor.
Perfect. Yeah, you've got you've got your own cover there. Great. So I think part of why everyone is marking stress is that this has been just kind of immediately some complications emerged. Ashleigh, you find yourself like staring into a bright flashlight as someone has come up onto the roof of the building that you're on and is angrily demanding what you're doing up here. Jack, you are standing outside this building when you see approaching it what looks like a whole detachment of Soviet police who appear to be headed right for this apartment building. And
wait, the NKVD in Austria?
No, not the secret police. The actual police, right? The city is jointly occupied by 4 powers, and they each have a police force here. So the NKVD might be here, but there are uniformed Soviet police officers also who take turns patrolling this part of the city.
I'm gonna pull a map out of my pocket. and start turning it around in my hands, like I'm trying to figure out where the hell I am.
Nice. Try to look a little lost here. Emilie, I'm going to have you mark a condition because I think where we pick up with you is, is like. Yeah, we said that Ashleigh's friend Inga was in this was in this apartment building. We'll say you like had her apartment number as like a place to lay low, and unfortunately you have like had to run there as things things up on the rooftop went immediately pear-shaped, and now there's there are boots hammering down the stairs, and you are you are hammering at the door of this woman that your friend knows, and there's like a bullet goes whizzing right by you in the hallway. So mark a condition.
Okay. Do you have a recommendation? Which one? Because I know they like put demerits on my stats, but which one do you think fits here?
Yeah. So it's kind of about how you're feeling. Are
we marking stress or conditions?
Everyone's marking stress, but Emilie is marking a condition.
Okay.
Because the way the mission move fail works is on a miss, something's gone wrong, and you're in the MC's hand. Everyone marks a stress, and the MC will tell you who marks a condition. So blunted, cuts against your weapon stat. That's if you're not as sharp as you could be, if you're hazy or off your game, blunt would make sense. Twisted kind of deals with sort of the supernatural side, right? Like something's gone strange in the way you kind of connect to your power. Compromised might make the most sense, but I don't want to be mean and say you have to take the one that hurts your best stat, but
yeah, but that means that I have more of a cushion because it's my best stat.
Yeah.
I'm taking that, but it makes the most sense, honestly.
Right. Yeah. An operator is supposed to be smooth and straightforward, and when you kind of lose that, then it makes sense to mark compromised. And the last one is burned, in which it's sort of like you feel betrayed, you feel exposed. It cuts against your dreamer. So you went ahead with compromised?
Yeah.
Great. All right. Well, someone's shooting. It sounds like several people are chasing, and you're hammering at this door as a voice says, "Who is it? What do you do?"
If there's shooting happening, I don't want to draw them to Ashleigh's friend. Honestly,
noble of you.
Well, she might still be useful in the future. It's not my call to dispose of Ashleigh's friend. That's Ashleigh's call. So
that's how friends work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think what I'm going to do is is the shooting at me?
A bullet whizzed right by you,
okay,
and there
cool.
are people, there's hammering footsteps coming down the stairs. We'll say like, if you catch take a quick look back, it looks like there's a figure all the way down at the end of the hallway. But you could certainly try and decipher the situation to understand more.
Yes, please. Guide me through these moves. I'm not sure. I'm not what need to learn them. So decipher is basically when you take time to decipher a person or a situation. This is where I think this is kind of natural at the moment. Either way, I roll 0, either natural, super, or supernatural.
Right.
This is just instinct anyway.
Yeah, trusting your instincts, trying to get a handle on what's going on. That makes sense. Go ahead and roll with operator.
Okay, and that's a 10.
Wow. Okay, so
you
get to ask 3 questions from the decipher list.
You
advantage acting on those answers.
Yeah. So where's a weak point I can exploit? Where can I get the hell out of here? Going up specifically with.
Oh, nice. Okay, so weak point in the building. It sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. You see right nearby a like dumbwaiter shaft.
Okay. All right, cool. Who's pulling the strings here?
Wow, fascinating question. Are you asking specifically who's like, who's in charge of the folks that are shooting sort of at you?
Yeah, like, can I tell if like this is just a regular? Because the timing is way too coincidental. Well, I say that we're trying to penetrate this building to steal a Soviet. But yeah, if we can put a name to like who might be like even like in control of this building,
Yeah, absolutely. The Sure, yeah, you hear kind of yells from you. You prick your ears up, and you catch some shouting in Russian from back in the direction you came, and someone's saying, "We'll never hear the end of it from Timofey if we let her get away." So I'll give you that one as far as
Okay.
who these people are beholden to.
Okay, that's pretty good. I think the last one is, what danger am I overlooking?
Ah, yeah, and I take it you're not overlooking the danger, hot on your tail there.
Yeah, yeah, that seems fairly obvious. Otherwise, I wouldn't be eyeing that dumbwaiter.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, the problem with that question is that like now I'm inviting you to add more danger.
It's a great question. Yeah. Okay. There's like there's like just like the smallest sort of hum and crackle of electricity, and you like throw a last glance back, and you see electricity crackling over the hand of the person now like moving down the hallway. So it's not kind of wholly mundane, the danger that's present here. Does that work for you?
Yeah.
What do you do?
Yeah, I'm gonna get in that dumbwaiter and try to shimmy it upwards.
Okay. So you're just trying to climb up the dumbwaiter shaft to like reach higher up in the building.
I've done worse things. Well, actually, no, I haven't. I don't know. Emilie's done a lot of stuff, but yes. As soon as like I see like electricity crackle, and I was like, yeah, dumbwaiter. Try to get up the shaft up there.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, it's basically like a miniature elevator shaft, right? You have to be like fairly fairly petite to pull this off. But I take it Emilie can Emilie feels confident in her abilities here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, give us just a shot of what this looks like, and then I'm going to probably have you roll to to get out of a place, because you're trying to get out of the corridor where you're in danger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I opened the shaft and like, well, she makes a critical mistake. She looks down first.
Oh,
and
poorly
like,
thought through.
yeah, we see like her eyes, and those shadows on her eyes, kind of like, just widen. It's like, hey, crap. But we hear the humming of the electricity, and she doesn't even look back. She just kind of like will just like look up and just try to squeeze into the shaft, and yeah, shimmy upwards.
Okay. All right. So sounds like you are sneaking. So make another plus operator roll on this one. Unless you think, unless for some reason this would count as breaking, but I don't buy that necessarily.
No. Let's see. Do I roll with advantage because I'm acting on an answer?
You do. Yeah. You get advantage. So roll 3 dice and you get to pick the ones you want.
Hell yeah. Oh, I get to pick the ones I want. Oh, that's really interesting. Well, they're not great. Actually, you know what? I am going to use my roll move.
Haha. So tell us about that.
So, ever since a lovely stranger gave you a kiss on the forehead, things just seem to work out for you. Someone up there must be smiling on you, suppose. When you're backed against the wall and you could really use a lucky break, call your benefactor to mind and fill your stress track to make a move as if you rolled a 10 plus.
Nice. So
Yeah.
give us a little sense, like how does Emilie feel like this is about to go badly, and then she kind of because the way the role is phrased, it sounds like you're sort of turning it on, like you're turning on the luck and reaping advantage from it for a moment. So what does that feel like for her?
Yeah, I think she kind of like she feels this like almost like foggy sensation around her, like like wet fog. That's sort of like this blurry, indistinct. You're wandering around a dark street with nothing but lamplights and lamplights to guide you through the fog. And I think she hears like this murmuring in the back of her mind, kind of like a whisper of like what Victoria sounded like. And yeah, and then she feels like she can like take on the rest of the world.
You're gonna get out without taking any additional stress. So good on you. That's that you get the 10 plus result from get in, get out. I think we're gonna see you emerge at like on the top floor, right? Because Dumbwaiter doesn't go to the roof, but you can get to the top floor and be much closer to your goal there. Does that sound good?
Yep.
Ashleigh, you're on a nearby rooftop, and you suddenly have this flashlight turned full bore on you, and like behind it, you hear a incensed voice saying, "No one's supposed to be up here. What are you doing?"
What's the accent?
Austrian.
I'm going to hold my slightly crumpled cigarette to my lips and say, "Isn't it a nice night just to look out at the city?" This is me attempting not to outright lie.
So are you? Are you fast talking our your new friend here? Not, but yeah, indeed, by not saying anything that's untrue per se.
That's right. Yes, that's my.
Okay, yeah. So the like, flashlight goes down slightly, and you see this this older gentleman like peering at you suspiciously. He's taking you in. Let's see how well this fast talk goes. So you're rolling plus operator on that, and I believe you have to mark XP for trying to fast talk someone without actually lying.
Right. Yes. Mark XP. I'm rolling +0. I need to change my name here. But that was me, Dallas. So I got a 5. It's not great.
Yeah, I'm afraid it isn't. Your conscience, the like ladybug, Constance is kind of buzzing around your ears, right? And saying, I told you it's a bad idea to follow them here. This will just get you in trouble and get these innocent people in trouble. Ashleigh, you're not supposed to be getting innocent people in trouble. And let's see. Yeah, I think the like old man says, "What's that?" and like kind of waves his hand like he's trying to swat away your conscience. What do you do?
I'll say, whatever it is, it probably had it coming. But it's probably, well, I think it's just an insect. But please, sir, I don't think I've done anything wrong. I'm just standing up where I can get some fresh air.
Yeah. So he like, his lips narrow, and he just like, points right over at the door leading up onto the roof, and he says, "It's against the rules, I'm afraid. We can't be drawing any attention. No exceptions."
You said he's an old man?
Yeah, older man holding a flashlight.
Does he have some sort of uniform on, or is he just like the super in the building?
Those are interesting questions. You're trying to decipher a person or a situation. He's not wearing a recognizable uniform.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that I'm just gonna I want to walk toward him as if I'm going toward the doorway that he's pointing to, and then I think I'm just gonna slug him.
Oh my goodness!
Wow. Constance won't like this.
No, she will not.
No.
But you're just gonna sucker punch this old man.
Yep, I'm gonna try to knock him cold.
When you resort to violence against a foe who can retaliate, and I in some ways the roll will determine if he can retaliate, but I think it's right to make the roll. Roll plus weapon.
Okay, so my weapon is +1. Let's see. Oh, that was an 8, including my +1.
Hey, so you get to take a pick from one pick from the resort to violence list.
Okay.
Let's go over those options. On a hit, exchange blows, inflicting harm as appropriate. On a 7 through 9, you choose one. So option 1, instead of exchanging blows, you hit them and avoid their blow. Option 2, you put your foe on the ropes. The next PC to target them has advantage. I don't think that's obvious. I don't think that's necessarily going to be useful here. You don't end up entangled with them or caught. You take something away from them.
I'll pick the first one.
Okay.
So I can do my sucker punch as hoped for.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. So like, totally caught off guard. You're cold clocking this man. His flashlight falls to the ground, and then he slumps down. Do you catch him or just leave him to fall there?
I'll catch him. I'm gonna get help from Constance already. So I'll ease him down to the ground.
Yeah. Constance is just is buzzing furiously around your head, right?
Just can't even talk anymore. Just
innocent people, Ashleigh. Innocent people. The flashlight the old man was holding rolls to the edge of the roof and then falls off. And down in the street below, Jack, the police who were approaching, spot this flashlight falling from the roof, and suddenly they're looking up at the roof that Ashleigh was on, and some of them are unholstering guns.
I want to pierce the veil.
Tell me about that.
Well, I think it'll work in my favor because I'm already standing here turning around this map in my hands like I'm absolutely lost. And I figure that talking to death for a moment or two here is probably going to hit about like a slug of bourbon used to. It might get me staggering down the street toward him like I'm drunk, which just works in my favor.
Got it. So you feel like doing, taking a moment to pierce the veil will add to your cover.
Well, especially when I'm standing up and I'm on my feet and I'm already stressed. And normally when I try to talk to death, I'm sitting someplace. So if I'm a little woozy, I've got a moment or two to kind of catch my breath, get my bearings. But I really need to know Which one of these cops has the most blood on their hands?
All right. Death takes a leverage on you. When you reach out to her this way, do you have to like kind of picture that face that Death has worn before you, or is it just as natural as closing your eyes, since you are made of dead pieces already?
Oh, at this point, I don't even have to close my eyes. I can just think her into my head.
Yeah. The kind of face of this woman, who is in this locket, kind of comes into focus for a moment behind your closed lids, and she says, Jack, my darling, calling again about this depressing business of who has the most blood on their hands?
Only because I'm trying to give you some more clients.
The tall one in the middle, Karl Yakovich, massacred civilians during the war while he was a officer in the infantry. Is that what you want to hear?
Not what I wanted, but it's what I needed.
She sighed. She sighs and says, "When will you learn that need is not the only thing in existence, on your side or on mine?"
Probably about the same time that you're actually able to help me finally cross over and find actual lasting peace.
And the vision fades away. One of the troops, not the tall one, is like looking at you curiously, saying, "Sir, I'm going to need you to move along." But you see, there's others who are looking up at scanning the rooftop that the flashlight fell off of, pulling out their guns, including the tall fellow that Death just ID'd for you. What do you do?
Well, I'm gonna quickly and surreptitiously spill some of my flask on me so I actually smell like a distillery. And I'm going to stagger over to this cop saying, "I need you to move along," and I'm going to slur, "Good of you to come along. Just who I need. Police. You're a police. Just what I needed. I'm lost. I can't read the map. I don't know where I am. I'm trying to find my friend. Where's my friend?" And I'm staggering forward and I slap my arm around his shoulder like we're long lost buddies. And I'm putting my finger in his face saying, "I'm lost. You're Russian, right? Good people, the Russians. I fought alongside some Russians in the war. Good people, the Russians. Tovarish, right? Da, Tovarish."
What are you trying to do here?
What I'm trying to do is get this guy close enough to his friends that I can take them all out at the same time. I am getting ready to use my violence on them, which is why I wanted to make sure I knew who had the most blood on their hands. Because now that I know this guy killed civilians, well, I can visit some violence on him because I know he has earned it. And if anything goes sideways with that roll, collateral damage. No big.
So I think the the cop you're accosting this way is trying to draw himself up straighter and kind of hold you at arm's length and get a good look at you. So I'm going to need you to act under scrutiny to position him where you want.
Okay. Is that maintain cover?
Yes.
Or did that get changed? Okay.
Yeah, it's the same sort of move, but it has been switched. It's always a flat roll now.
Okay, so I don't actually add a stat to it.
Nope. It's more of a when you're a little on the back foot, you roll this to see if you can push through.
And that's a 10.
Wow. Okay. On a 10 plus, you do it and gain insight. Ask the MC one question. So yeah, so like even as he's trying to get this look, he is like he's taken aback because you're a big guy, right? Like they put Jack together as like a intimidating fellow with like a clunky metal leg, which I think we
They
have.
rebuilt me like I'm a Peterbilt. So
So you get him right where you want him, and you get one question from me.
do they have any idea about what's going on upstairs? I mean, are they just random cops on patrol, or are they like a special attachment to deal with this thing or to watch it?
Yeah. So it's not a random.
You're robotic.
Random patrol. Though possibly they. Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not a random patrol, but you don't know. You get the impression they might not know any more than you. You hear like a whisper in Russian between two of these other cops, with one of them saying, "Is it a sniper on the roof? Is it just something to do with that radio array?" And someone else, says like, way above my pay grade. Right. So like you have the sense that they're supposed to be dealing with the same thing you're supposed to be dealing with, but without, that much more intel than you.
Gotcha.
And let's take, if you don't mind, a 10-minute break there, because we've reached, moments of suspense on our three fronts. And
Okay.
we'll pick up again. We'll see the conclusion of tonight's mission. And so see you back here at just a minute past the hour.
Okay.
Chris, I actually think your fast talk roll would have earned you 2 XP, one because you didn't lie, and one because you rolled a miss.
Oh, great! Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. See, you've picked an excellent move for advancing quickly, as long as you keep not lying and keep rolling misses. All right, looks like we are back. Jack, we'll pick up again with you because it sounded like you tried to put yourself in position. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you do?
Well, how is this cop that I have my arm around reacting?
Yeah. So he basically, he seems a little inexperienced, right? He was trying to like keep you at arm's length to get a good look at you, but like as you're slurring Russian phrases at him, he's just sort of like stumbled back a little bit, looking over his shoulder for assistance. But the others of his unit are focused on the rooftop and starting to and aiming their guns up there. So he's not getting any assistance, and you've managed to maneuver him right towards the other cops.
Well, and I think by this point I'm just kind of guiding him. Like I've got my arm on his shoulder, and it's not like I'm gripping the shoulder. It's just my hands kind of like lightly resting on it, but I'm big. So I'm just drunkenly slurring as I kind of stagger over toward the other group of officers. At which point I see the tall one. And what did you say his name was? Karl Jakowiak?
Yakovich.
Karl Yakovich. Say, you. I know you.
Dropping the slur on that.
I dropped the slur speech. You're Karl Jakovich.
He turns to look at you, brow furrowed in confusion. He doesn't know you.
You oversaw the slaughter of civilians. Killed an entire town.
Who fed you these lies? He says, voice quaking.
Oh, Karl. I was there. And at this point, I think it's time to use some violence here.
I mean, if you keep saying this stuff to them, they're going to use some violence on you. So we'll see.
I'm going to resort to violence against a foe who can retaliate.
Yeah. What does that look like?
Oh. Jack is many things, but a subtle fighter is not one of them. I am aiming to kick him square in the bread box.
I see. So it's not, you're not whipping out one of your weapons. You are just, taking a.
I am just going to put a beating on these guys.
It's like a big "This is Sparta" kick to start it off. Sounds like.
Pretty much, except instead of like a push kick, it's very much just a straight old football punt that maybe he picked up in his days back in the States.
I have to ask: is it with your human leg or your metal leg?
Well, it wouldn't be any fun if it was with my human leg, would it?
So there's a clunk noise. Roll plus weapon, and we'll see how this goes.
With my +1, that gets me to a 10.
You get to pick 2 options from the resort to violence list.
Now let's see. When I resort to violence against someone I judge to have really deserved it, I can cause major collateral damage to choose an additional option.
So you can either choose 2 or cause major collateral damage and choose 3.
So tell me, Alexi, what kind of major collateral damage would it be causing?
Well, the street's probably not going to be the same afterwards, huh?
I mean, there are also 3 cops here, additional cops. You said there was a group of 4, right?
You can't necessarily frame your major collateral damage as more damage to the people you are fighting.
So I can't just, like, for example, start throwing them through windows into residences and such.
Sure, that would count as major collateral damage. Yeah, if you're just busting up the whole street as you brawl with these men, I would count that as major collateral damage.
Okay, then let's count that as the major collateral damage, because these other cops, they're Russians. They may not be good people, but they might not be bad people. But this dude has definitely earned every single kick. So let me flip back over to that tab. Okay, so I don't end up entangled with them or caught. I think I put them on the ropes.
Nice. So basically you're hitting them as this like whirlwind of unarmed attacks, and they're caught off guard. They're this is not the direction they were expecting a threat to come from, seems like. And yeah, so they are at wit's end here.
And then the last option, and we went through this once before, so before we get into this, I want to make sure I've got explicit consent from everybody. Are we okay with killing a cop who murdered civilians? Thumbs up. Thumbs up. Alexi, you okay with it?
Yeah. Are you trying to take away his life?
Indeed, I am. I told Death I'd be sending some clients her way.
So just to check, it sounds like you are you're brawling and flinging a bunch of them around, and then specifically
targeting him. So I'm using non-lethal but painful force on them, and then with Yakovich, it's just like, bam, punch him straight in the throat.
And he crumples. The one option you haven't chosen is instead of exchanging blows, you hit them and avoid their blow, which, to be fair, feels accurate here because you are mixing it up. So
yes.
They get some punches in, and then like one of them like that you've tossed gets a beat on you and fires, right? So
okay.
Let's roll take serious harm and see if he hits anything vital.
Is there anything vital?
Okay. Wow, what a question.
Right?
So roll plus stress, and then on a 6-, I'm in the clear. Ooh, that is a 9.
Okay, so you are going to have to choose one from the take serious harm list. On a 7 through 9, you take your licks. Choose one.
I'll go ahead and mark 2 stress.
Yeah, it's been a stressful evening.
I mean, and seriously, he shot me in the arm. It's not even my good arm. I don't even know if I have a good arm.
But it's just it's like come on. Yeah. So
with any luck, this should have created enough noise in the street to give Emilie and Ashleigh a chance to get clear.
I mean, it's created some noise, all right. Lights are flicking on, and people are poking their heads out, and at least one person gives a scream. But you're leaving one corpse and a bunch of beaten
bodies in living rooms.
Yes, a bunch of beaten and confused officers. But you don't end up entangled or caught, so you are able to to get out of this. Where do you go? Are you kind of retreating further to keep an eye on the situation?
I'm sure we had arranged a rally point beforehand.
So you're headed for the rendezvous.
Yeah, and because let's be blunt, I mean, I'm gonna need to go to ground for at least a little bit, a couple hours.
You think?
At least. I mean, maybe even a little bit longer, but the good thing about Vienna is what? The cops are going to say he was a drunk American? That describes half the city.
All right. So you're able to get away. That's rolled into the resort to violence there. So what I want to do is check in. Ashleigh, up on the roof. You hear some of this commotion going down. You've cold cocked this old man. Your conscience lands on his forehead and is hissing at you. It's not safe. It's not safe. Do you hear the violence down there? Get him somewhere safe at least. Don't just leave him up here.
Is he still alive? I'm asking Constance.
Yeah. The Constance like flies over, like lands on his neck, like she's like checking his pulse. Says, yes, no thanks to you.
Well, that's fine. We'll just get him down into the hallway. We'll put his back up against the wall, and he'll come to. He may not even remember anything. It will be fine. So I'll start dragging him. But wait, Constance, I have a mission here. You know, I can't just leave my friends. Why don't I deal with the old man later? He'll probably be out for hours. I don't think I can abandon my post, Constance.
There's a extremely like discontented buzz from the ladybug.
By making my conscience angry, do I get a minus? Because I know when I do what she wants, I get a plus. But
that's fascinating. So like as the MC, I can impose disadvantage when it seems like you should take disadvantage, and it sounds a little like you feel like there's some disadvantage just from Ashleigh's guilt over disobeying her conscience.
That or stress, yeah. For sure. There's something going on here. I'll be like, Constance, everything will be fine. We'll deal with it later. I'm learning a lot about later. It's a great concept. And I'll be watching to see if there's any mirror flash to see if Emilie has gotten to the rooftop.
Nice.
Across the way.
So Emilie, you made your way up through the dumbwaiter. You got to the top floor. Do you head to the roof from there?
Before I go, is there a fire alarm nearby? Just for maximum confusion.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, because like I obviously I was in a dumbwaiter. I didn't know what Jack's doing or what Ashleigh's doing. All I know is like there are folks after me with electrical powers. I need to like thoroughly confuse this place, so I'm gonna go for the fire alarm.
Okay, yeah. So you pull the alarm. There's now there's bells ringing all through this building. Lights are flicking on in this building and surroundings. This little corner has become the center of plenty of attention. Are you now heading up to the roof?
Yes, I think that's enough that I confuse whoever's chasing me.
So there's
so what's at the roof?
Yeah, there's like a little ladder, leading up to a hatch of sorts that opens onto this roof. And you if you'd like probably poke your head up cautiously, given everything else that's going on. Yeah. Well, what you see first is there appears to be a group of people just like working on this radio array, right? There's someone standing in like a long coat, hands clasped behind their back, who seems to be giving orders, and then there's several workers in kind of coveralls who are like adjusting things and aiming antennae, turning dials, and like you kind of strain to see at the center of it. Yeah, there is something small like a bocce ball, but that glints a little bit golden, that seems to be incorporated into this definitely strange radio array.
So they're not concerned about the fire alarm.
So one of them pauses and says, "Should we?" And then the men in front just holds up a hand, and they wilt and turn back to their work.
Right. I think I'll try to decipher before doing anything and just figure stuff out.
Yeah,
that's okay.
Yeah, again, just relying on your normal senses here.
Yes.
Roll plus operator.
That's an 8.
All right, you get one question from the decipher list.
What's a weak point I could exploit?
Ooh, give me a sense of what type of weak point you're hoping for.
A way that would get me to the device that that we came here for with the minimum amount of fuss. It can be loud, it can be subtle, just like as long as I have that device, and then also I can get to a window.
I mean, it's the rooftop. There's the whole the whole surroundings is a window. It looks like the in charge person whom you guess is Timofey, since that was what the folks that was the person the folks downstairs sounded beholden to and scared of. Looks like this person is intensely focused on the radio, and kind of his focus is kind of keeping the rest in line. The weak point is distract him, and the others won't the others won't be as much of a problem. They're nervous and raring to go with the fire alarm going.
Okay, so can I, in one swift motion, haul myself up to this rooftop and hold him at gunpoint before anyone else can react?
So just charge over and hold a gun to the person who looks to be in charge.
Yeah, before you can do anything.
Sure. That's the thing.
I'm skeptical, Alexei.
Well, I guess part of my question: are you signaling Ashleigh at this point, or are you kind of waiting and figuring you'll need something else in a moment?
No, I figured I'd signal Ashleigh after I've held him at gunpoint.
All right. So you're up on the roof holding a gun out. What have you like come up behind him and like press it against his back?
Yes, that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So like he stiffens, like turns his head to look at you. You see a guy with like several long scars across his face. Honestly, there's a move for when you first meet someone. It's establish your bona fides.
Yeah.
Let's see. Either of us can choose something here to hit you with. I'm gonna go with they've heard unsettling rumors about you, true or false. Things could get messy, and so like as he turns, he says, "Miss Landau, you I've heard of."
Oh, that's amazing. So we don't have to do introductions then, Timothy.
My reputation precedes me as well. See, I try to be subtler than you.
Well, if your reputation is your hired underlings dropping your name in fear, it's not a particularly... Well, I guess it suits this city, I suppose. But now I have to know. What is it you know about me, Mr. Timothy?
So are you just you're just having this like pleasant at gunpoint conversation? The folks like who are working on the radio array are like staring over questioningly at what's going on here, and Timofey says, let's see. Yeah, Timofey says, unfortunately, you're not the one who gets to ask the questions here, Miss Landau. And like snaps his fingers, and an electrical jolt kind of leaps off of him and strikes you.
It just strikes me?
Yeah. Well,
what?
You just pointed a gun at this guy.
Well, if he's gonna do it, I'm gonna shoot him.
Okay, so roll to resort to violence.
Wow.
You have a a thought, an idea of a way to aid, maybe, or?
I was trying to think of something, but I don't think I know for sure that she's on the roof yet.
Well,
It could just be a
if
spark
you're
of electricity.
watching, you're going to spot this electrical bolt.
Oh, okay. So I'll see that. So I'll start flashing, saying, are you okay? You know what? I'll send Constance over to fly up and distract people, and maybe I don't know if she can actually flip any switches, but yeah.
So you kind of tried to like push your conscience to help you, and like the little ladybug comes flying around, and like people are like, right, sure, mark a stress, because obviously stress will to deploy your conscience, and that'll give Emilie advantage on this.
Okay.
Emilie, I think you're rolling plus weapon.
Yeah. Can I ask, is having a chat with him making things harder for yourself in order to look dashing?
Plausibly. Is this? Are you?
I had another idea for how to do this, but how to make that like
thrill-seeking.
Yeah. I'm gonna mark that to lose a stress.
Fair enough. All right. Yeah. So as we've seen, there are these release moves, and when you hit them, you can choose to take XP or to clear a stress. And so Emilie, absolutely, you took the thrill-seeking approach here, and that calmed your nerves somehow. So yeah. So you're resorting to violence?
Yeah.
With advantage, thanks to help from Ashleigh. So you can roll 3 dice.
Yeah. I mean, look, technically he shot that electric attack first. That's a 10, a 5, and a 5. Thanks, Ashleigh.
Very handy. Yeah. So choose 2 from the resort to violence list.
Instead of exchanging blows, you hit them and avoid their blow. That seems.
How do you dodge the electrical bolt?
Incredibly lucky,
I guess you're just really lucky.
Well, I ducked. He snapped his fingers. There's a delay there. I can duck.
Okay. Yeah. If you're taking that one, he's like his mouth is hanging open just from you not getting hit by the electricity even before, I guess, you shoot him. Is that right?
Yes. Well, yeah, I had him at gunpoint. He's still trying to attack me. I think I'm perfectly fine with shooting him.
Okay. Yeah. So you get to choose one more option from that list.
Yeah, I'm gonna want to take something away from them. That's the thing we came here for.
Nice. So basically, he takes this shot, stumbles back. You hear like electrical crackling, right? But you are focused on charging through, and indeed the other workers up here don't like do anything to stop you, right? You're just grabbing at the object in the midst of this array, and there's a moment, right, where you reach out, and what is what it smells like is just the most delicious apple that you've ever smelled. And what memory comes back to Emilie of like some moment, right, when she experienced just the kind of pure and straightforward pleasure of a really delicious apple?
I think we get like a moment when she like her hand clasps on this device, and we cut to like a very pastoral field near like some mountains. I'm thinking like, because the Blu-ray of Band of Brothers over there, I'm thinking like the last episode when they just hang out in Austria. So there's this like very lovely lake. It's nice and beautiful. It's away from this grungy, dirty city, and Emilie is like lying on her back, looking up at the sky, looking up at the clouds, when someone like bops an apple on her face, just drops, and it's like and she sits up and she sees this Well, she's seen this woman before. She came to town fairly recently, but she cuts this incredibly striking, almost kind of like alien figure. Like she belongs in a speakeasy, with a singer in a smoky room and smell of wine and cheap perfume. That sort of image. She doesn't belong in this pastoral field, but she gives Emilie this like very like kind smile and just says like something along the lines of, I heard you like apples or something like that.
Great. It's very, very smooth. And yeah, that memory comes to you as you pluck from this array what's just like a golden apple, right? Like they had little like wires kind of pinned up to it, but you're able to like to pull it free. And behind you, there's crackling, right? And Timothy is yelling, "Landau, you have no idea what you're dealing with there. The only good move is to drop that and leave."
I think like Emilie turns to look at Timothy back towards the edge, and she just says, "That sounds like some very good advice. Though I'll advise you back. I think you're going to need to update your file on me." And she throws the apple over her shoulder out into the edge of the roof and falls off.
So you're tossing the apple off the roof with the intention to catch it on your way down, or are you tossing it to Ashleigh on the other roof and then just kind of just like falling off yourself?
Actually, that makes more sense. I don't think they plan to like. It's probably harder for like to toss it off and then Emilie had catch it in the way. I think because then we can divide and conquer. The Ashleigh has the thing, and maybe they'll concentrate on where Emily's landing. Sure. If I have to make a roll to make that work, I'll do it.
It might get spooky because it's a like no eyes toss over your back lucky shot here. Does that sound right?
Yeah. The thing is though, I cleared the stress so I can fill it up again for my favorite roll move.
I see. So you're filling the stress once more to get really spooky and just nail that shot. Ashleigh, does that sound good to you? With like kind of suddenly there's this apple incoming.
Yep, I think I catch a glint off of my reflected light, coming from the apple. Sure.
I still have to pick a consequence.
Yeah. You just have to pick one consequence from Get Spooky because you took the free 10+.
I thought moving to another system would make her less lucky. How is this happening? I think my powers do things beyond what I meant.
Oh, fascinating. Here's what I think then. It just so you luckily pulled just the right bits off to extricate the apple from the radio array. The whole radio array starts to fall apart here as well. So like you've flung the apple, Ashleigh catches it, you are just dropping off the building, and then the behind you all the antenna of the radio just start like falling in different directions, and like
nice.
Men are like running to catch them, but there's there's just a strange like screeching feedback noise, and like glass windows all around this block shatter.
Jesus.
But that sounds like we've gotten to the end of this mission. So I'd love to get just a last glimpse of each character as we answer our end of session questions. Jack, you dealt out some violence on the ground, then headed to the rendezvous point, trusting your teammates. Let's look at the end of session move and have you answer one of these questions. So at the end of each session, choose one, and this is there's an end of session tab on the character keeper. So Jack, you choose one of these. Describe how your character's ideology or loyalty has been shifted by what they've learned. Mark XP. Explain how you've gained advantageous insight into a character you interacted with, gained leverage over them. or describe how another operative can tell you take a bullet for them, remove 1 stress from them, and mark 1 stress yourself.
All right, so let me take a look here. Do we get XP for filling up our stress track?
No.
Okay.
We get a condition, I believe.
Yeah. I think I have questions for Lena. And I'm not entirely, it's not that I thought we were necessarily allies, but I'm curious based on what I saw and what I heard as I walked away straightening my suit so that I didn't look like I'd just been in a Donnybrook. What I heard back there was a hell of a lot more than just a routine operation.
Yeah.
So I've got some questions for her. And I think I also need to talk with the other two about what the hell is going on and let them know that they may have been facing, well, dead men and women.
Right. Yeah.
I'll go ahead and mark XP.
Because you feel like this has kind of shifted some of your priorities here.
Well, I'm definitely more loyal to the team, and I'm now starting to regret that I didn't mention the whole thing about the electrics.
Yeah, yeah. The galvanized.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. Emilie, what do we see of you, kind of walking away from this mission, it sounds like, and which end of session choice are you making?
Yeah, we never see her land. It always just cuts away.
That's great.
Yeah. It's like she has the powers of the editing suite. If this was a TV show, so like we just get like a shot of her looking up at the residential building, and you can see there's a glint in her eyes. Like, oh, so that's what the Soviets are playing with at the moment. They've got a fancy Apple, and they've got some nice, like, well, not nice, but like interesting electrics, and they know me. Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, flattering. Yeah.
Yeah.
Choose.
I think it's okay. Choose one. The thing is, if my stress track was already full, I would go for the last one because Ashleigh did help me out in a tough spot.
Well, if you mark stress while your stress track is full, you get a condition. So
yeah, that's the thing. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, the thing is, I forgot to bring it up, but I mentioned in email like I won't be here next week.
Oh yes, fair enough.
I might just do that and pick MIA as Emilie's away for another session, just to get one stress off Ashleigh.
Oh, that's fascinating, right? And basically that'll mean like I can we can kind of see where she turns up when she reappears. Yeah. Ashleigh, how's that sound to you?
That sounds great. So what happened? So I reduced the stress.
Yeah, Emilie feels you've pulled her bacon out of the fire, and so there's some way that Ashleigh can tell you've got her back. I guess. Do you do or say something as you guys are regrouping?
I think. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think like Emilie does go MIA for a moment because she's the thing she's looking to. So when they get at the rendezvous, Emilie is not there, but instead she left a note, just saying, had things to do, have irons to prep. Good catch, Ashleigh.
And I think actually I'm going to be even before that, when you're falling off the roof, I'm going to be flashing at you with my mirror just to say, we've got this, you know, we have the apple, everything is A-okay.
Yeah, that's why that's why Emily wrote the note. A good catch, Ashley.
Right. Just to give you a sense that, like, yeah, you're in good hands.
Sounds good. And Ashleigh, for your end of session choice.
So this apple I catch, it's metal, but it smells like an apple.
Yeah.
So it's like meat.
In some ways, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna put that in a deep pocket, and I'm going to pull this old man from under his armpits and pull him down the stairs of the roof access staircase. His butt on the steps.
Yeah.
And there isn't any on the top floor here. Nobody has like a chair out in the hallway, do they? Or a bench? If not, I'm just gonna rest his.
There's like a potted
back.
plant, maybe.
No. That's I'll rest his back up against the side of the hallway, and close the door, of course, and wipe everything. Well, I don't have fingerprints, but it's gonna wipe everything down. But I won't. And then make sure that I have Constance back, and Constance and I will head to the rendezvous point.
All right.
I'll have a tongue lashing from her all the way.
She's slightly mollified by you having brought the old man down here.
Oh, good.
Still feels you need to to take more responsibility for the civilians who get in the way.
I'm trying, Constance.
You can choose one of these choices from the end of session tab.
Okay. I see. So I think I'm going to, let's see. Well, if I remove a stress from Emilie, then she can't take MIA, right?
Well, she just did this where she took a stress from you. So
right. Well, it seems like it would be the natural thing to do. I just don't want to mess with if you're taking the condition regardless, then because now that you have a condition, does the stress go to 0, or
no? Your stress stays full.
Okay, then I will, with my little mirror message to Emilie as she was falling, will try to convey my willingness to. I don't know if I can convey in a brief message in the middle of a fall that I would take a bullet for her. That might be too much of a stress.
But just a strong loyalty is what you're.
Yes.
Saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we have a very sweet stress exchange back and forth between Emilie and Ashleigh.
Yeah, I was gonna say that accomplished, like, we're back where we were before, except now I have a condition.
Right.
Sometimes being loyal to someone is not actually the like best play, but it does feel emotionally true to these characters, so I will buy it. All right, so Emilie, you can go down to just 3 stress, and it sounds like you're going back up to 2, Ashleigh. Thank you all for playing tonight. To anybody who watched, thanks for joining us, and we'll be back next week at the same time for more Checkpoint Midnight Waltz of Treachery.
All right.